Yesterday, we had a nearly 14-hour live stream of the second day of Joe Biden's Supreme Court nominee, Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson's confirmation hearing, during which she was asked about 30 minutes of questions by each of the full group is 22 senators on the Judiciary Committee. I believe they got to 20, and then the last two were going to go this morning. And we're going to get to some clips of what was asked, and we're going to talk about all of that. But before doing any of that, I think it's important to take an objective look at how qualified Judge Jackson is. And by any measure, any objective measure, Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson is or would be one of the most qualified Supreme Court justices in recent history. And this is not going by vague ideology-based opinions or anything subjective. Merely looking at the facts of her experience, it is hard to find a more qualified Supreme Court justice recently. Now, I know many of you, as we get into this, are going to say, but hold on a second, David, if Amy Coney Barrett can be on the court, if Kavanaugh can be on the court, why is this even a conversation? And of course, you would be completely correct to frame it in those terms. But because it is worth actually thinking about the experience of a potential Supreme Court justice, we're going to look at it. And there's a very good chart out which looks at the current justices and compares Judge Jackson's experience. And what you find when you look at it is that she checks more boxes than do any of the justices currently on the court. When you look at whether she went to an Ivy League law school, which I don't think is the standard by which we should evaluate qualifications. But one of the things that many say is, well, where was the legal education? All of the justices currently on the court, other than Barrett, went to an Ivy League law school, and so did Judge Jackson. When you look at which justices were clerks on the Supreme Court, Clarence Thomas, Alito, and Sotomayor were not. The other justices on the court were. And Judge Jackson was a Supreme Court clerk. Great. In terms of who was a public defender, none of them. None of them. Judge Jackson actually brings unique experience, or would bring unique experience to the court by virtue of having been a public defender. None of the 9 current justices did that as a job. Only Justice Breyer, who would be replaced by Judge Jackson, was on a sentencing commission. And indeed, Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson was on a sentencing commission. Only Judge Sotomayor of the justices currently on the court was a district judge. Judge Jackson has that experience in her background as well. And currently, all justices other than Elena Kagan were judges on courts of appeals. And indeed, Judge Jackson was a judge on the Court of Appeals. Now, so the objective case is as or more qualified than any of the justices currently on the court. Now, I think there's one interesting thing to talk about here. You and I might look at the experience of Judge Jackson and say, wow, that's amazing. And it's actually fascinating that public defender experience and sentencing commission experience and district judge experience, that's unique. That's a unique level of experience. Nobody on the court right now has had experience in those 3 areas. But there's a liability that comes with that, which we learned about yesterday during the hearing. And it is that it provides a significant amount of fodder for which she can be attacked. Well, why did you do this specific sentence in this case? Or why did you rule in this particular way? Why did you defend this particular client, even though lawyers defend clients? That's what they do. And the analogy here would be, imagine that I ran for something. You and I might say, well, you know, what's great is I have over 10 years of talking about so many different issues. You can just kind of look up and see what my thoughts are. But the truth is that if you did, let's call it a political colonoscopy, or, you know, a political body cavity search, and you went through everything I've ever said on the show, you know, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours, you would without a doubt be able to find things that don't represent, number one, the what I would call the best of my show, that might be opinions which have changed because either my opinions have changed or there's different information that has now come out, which has led me to have to revise opinions. So without a doubt, if I were to run for something, although I see it as a positive thing that I have this long track record of people being able to see the evolution of my views, you would be able to troll that and find things to take out of context or isolate that without a doubt, would make me look bad. It would make me look bad. And along the same way, although you and I might say, wow, public defender experience and sentencing commission experience and district judge experience, that's unbelievable. What we saw yesterday during the first day of questions asked to Judge Jackson, and what we are already seeing today during the second day of questions, which is underway right now as we are recording today's show, is that it also can serve as a sort of catalyst or as a basis to focus in extraordinarily narrowly on particular decisions and take them out of context and whatever else. One other thing, there was a lot of concern yesterday from Republican senators about sentences given by Judge Jackson on what, now I want to be clear, some people call it child porn. I don't think that's the right word, because pornography is almost always legal and involving consenting adults and is a business to some degree. To just put child on that and to pretend it, what we're talking about is child exploitation, right? I mean, we're not talking about filmmakers when we talk about people producing or whatever these images, but for what they call child porn, which I don't think is the right term for it. They talked a lot about her departures from the maximum penalties as sort of a liability. But the truth is the people doing that, like, for example, Republican Senator Josh Hawley, he has previously supported many judicial candidates that departed from the maximum sentencing numerous times. So they focused in on that, but significant hypocrisy there. So that's the qualifications. Let's now go to some of the questioning.